Hey, I'm Brandon. Today I'm going to be going over my Maya preferences. I think it's a good thing to get into when you're first starting out to play around with the program. If you haven't, gotten into the nitty-gritty of it yet, setting up the preferences is a good place to start. Just getting open up the menus, seeing what's around, and just getting really into it. So I downloaded Maya 2025. Um, let's go over here and check it out. So first thing, I mean, it gives you this nice, you know, what's new kind of menu, different features that they've added, and you can either highlight what's new in the interface, whatever, you can check that on. I'll keep that on for now. It's kind of nice for a couple weeks to keep that on while you're getting used to the new one. We'll just set this default, that's fine, and we'll just get started. So this is when you see what you see when you open up Maya as a general workspace. Um, yeah, so it's pretty similar to a lot of other 3D programs. You have a viewport here, you have your outliner on the left, some shelves here with different buttons for different things that you can do in the program, your normal file edit, all these different menus here, channel box on the right, attribute editor on the right, and modeling toolkit. Got your timeline on the bottom, uh, little slider here so you can zoom the time slider. We'll just keep that full. And then, so first thing that I like to do is I'll go here to general to the workspaces and just click on animation. That will bring up the graph editor, dope sheet, time editor, good stuff to do to use while you're animating. Then I kind of like to start moving windows around, getting everything into one side. So my viewport's on the left, all my editors and other windows are on the right. So I'll usually start by just dragging this. And this kind of depends on your screen space, right? So I have an ultra wide here that I'm using while I'm on vacation. And so I kind of generally do this in different variations depending on um, what screen space I have. So yeah, first thing, getting that outline over there, we'll go here to Windows, General Editors, and I'll just kind of click that and get this pop-off window. So I want my attribute editor. I don't know why it's so huge. Just scale that down, and we'll pop that over here. My goodness. Okay. Let's grab this. I want to grab these and just kind of put these all together in one window. And I like to have these like tabs here on the top. So I'll just right click, tab direction, top. And then I can grab this whole window and, put it on the side there. Let's get these on the top, top. Cool. And then I should be able to drag this out. Must have changed that. Usually before you'd get like a, is it there somewhere? Huh. A little tricky. So we want that. I put my graph editor, time editor is really good. Let's get these all kind of the same. I'm just gonna do this. That is fine. Dope sheet. Let's get that like that. And I'll just go to the graph editor. I kind of like this size, and what I do is kind of annoying, but put my finger where the graph editor is, and then I'm just going to drag this to my finger. If you guys know a better way of doing this, if you're experienced in Maya, it's kind of a pain, but it helps. and switching between so that they're all the same size. You're not having to rescale. Why can't I grab this? Come on. There we go. Okay. So now graph editor, time editor, I mean, they're all kind of around the same size. You could really fine tune it if you'd like, but not that picky. So let's see, channel box we have, tool settings. We could put that in there. Kind of dock this with the attribute editor. Nice place for it. And then tool settings, okay, viewport we have on the left here. Script editor is good to have. So I'll put that in my big menu. Let's drag this out a little bit. Okay, it's kind of like right over there. Perfect. Asset editor, don't use component, connection, channel. Okay, file path editor, new space. Cool. All right, so let's get rid of this, close window. And then we'll come down and we'll just keep going through this. So modeling editor, I don't do too much modeling, but when I do, there's some good stuff, useful stuff in the modeling toolkit. I can share some stuff that I know there, some other videos. Animation editor, obviously we have a dope sheet, graph editor, time editor, script editor. I can go over those in other videos as well. Just kind of thinking of like a lot of common things that I use a lot. Relationship, UI elements, settings, preferences. Okay. So that's kind of basically like just the overall layout of what I prefer with animating and getting, you know, all this, because when I click on stuff, I just want the settings to be, you know, right here, and I don't have to like, it's very picky, but not to go from one side of the screen all the way out to the other. If I can just like quickly change stuff and like click and change, if that makes sense. So what I'll do is I'll go down to workspaces and I'll save current workspace as, and then I'll just, sorry, moving late. So I'll click on this workspace, save as, and I'll just type in ultra wide dash anim. Okay. And now I have the save. So now I can go back to, you know, general, still have that there if I ever want. And then this is my, you know, current layout workspace. So, but let's go into a little bit further. If you want to play around with the preferences, it's under Windows, Settings, Preferences, Preferences. I got put to a different screen, but here it is. So a lot of stuff here, not really like, you're not going to go through everything right away, but something that I really want to make sure is just kind of quickly, you know, overview some of the main settings that I like to change is time slider, kind of the first thing. It really depends on what I'm doing, but mainly I do 24 or 30 FPS. We can set that to 30. Keyframes, that's okay. Okay. Kind of like your default, what do you want this set to? Key ticks active. You can change it to channel box and then it'll only be like what? It'll always show what you have selected. Key tick size 2, 1 doesn't, I mean, what that does is, let's see if I have an object, a sphere, and if you press S, it'll set a key. It's just this right here, you know, how big that visually is. Oops. How thick you want that red line. Okay, keep it at 2, pretty small. Time display, you can either change it from frames to time code. I've never seen anyone use time code. Always frames. So you have channel block sync. This one is sync timeline display. I usually have that checked off, and then sync selection in graph editor, which is really nice. So you can see if that's checked off. You select something here, you can select something there. You really like to keep that on, so that way when I select all these, it'll show, you know, all these channels over there. Current time indicator, snap to whole frames, definitely want that. It's just kind of as you're dragging, you're not going in between these little subframes here, which is like, you know, 15.3. We want to keep that to whole frames. It's just easier, makes it cleaner. Make sure you're not setting keys on subframes. There's ways to fix it if you accidentally do, but we can go over that later. Auto snap keys, some people like it, some people don't. I don't really care to keep it on because I want to see the time when I retime stuff. I want to be able to just freely scale stuff and not have it. It's kind of like the opposite of what I just said about the, you know, snap to whole frames. But when I'm retiming stuff, I like to kind of make sure that I'm getting the accurate timing of everything. Tick span, it's just the scale of you know, where your ticks are at, right? So you can have it set to 1, you can have it set to whatever, but I usually just keep that at 0 and it defaults to every 5 frames. Play every frame, playback speed, playback 1, free. You can have it set to 30, whatever your FPS is, times 1, it'll be real time. And then here's a big one. So let's say I have this animation, you know, I set a key there, and it's perfect. Look at that, beautiful. Let's set this time range to 15. So get this out of the way. So shooting off, and let's say I have, if you go over here to this little quad, you know, thing, viewport, you can have different types of viewports. So I want to do, say, you know, side by side, so that I can look at the front view or side view, and then I can look at, you know, perspective. So right now it's just going to, like, as I scrub, it's just going to show the active viewport that I've clicked onto. So if I click onto the side view, it'll show me that motion. If I click on the perspective, it'll show me that motion. I hate that. I'm always going to be turn it to all. Just update view all. Computers nowadays, I rarely see any slowness from that. Depends on, I mean, if you have 20 characters in your scene and they're all huge, heavy rigs, then maybe you'll have some issues, but for the most part, turn that on. It'll be very helpful. So we'll get that like that. Continuous looping, you can I kind of go between this every now and then. Usually I have it on continuous default. It's just when you play back, you know, it'll keep replaying, it'll loop. You can change it to once. Oscillate is, you know, back and forth. Never used that before, but usually continuous or once. This is a good one to check on and off. Loop play range when stepping keyframes. So let's say, you know, each frame of this, I just kind of set a key, and all I'm doing here is pressing Alt and period to go forward a frame, Alt and comma to go back a frame, and then I just press S every frame. So it's just, you know, we'll go through here to go through keyframes. So let's get rid of some of these keys. If I hold on Shift and drag, I can highlight these, and then I can right click, delete. I can use the same keys. Without Alt, it'll be period and comma to go forward and back between keyframes. So I can, you know, kind of look at that, and then Alt to go between single frames if I hold on Alt. Okay, So that does that. This setting right here, though, where was I? Time slider. If I have it checked on, and I'm, scrubbing between keyframes, I can go from 15, which is the last frame in my timeline, to the first if I keep going forward, right? So it's it keeps going through if I just, keep pressing that Alt period. I sometimes I like to have it off depending on if I'm like really stepping between keys and I want to not go back. I want to see the first frame only. Like if I go forward a couple of frames, I want to be able to just kind of, do that, which is helpful. But usually loop play range when stepping frames and keys is usually okay to keep on. Undo. Finally, they made this default infinite. For some reason in the past, it was finite. I don't know why, but that was the most annoying thing. But yeah, make sure if you want, just make sure undo is on and infinite. It would be really helpful when you're inevitably making mistakes and have to go back. Animation. You want to check auto key. You can also check that down here. That guy. But auto key is really great. So if you have an object and say you go over here, let's turn this off for a second, and I move it, and then I go, oh, it didn't save it, right? So if I move something, I want it to kind of like key it so that I know I'm like, it's just less of a task to have to key it again. So yeah, so that gives me a little bump there. Let's see what else. Default tangent weights. Usually I'll keep this non-weighted, especially if I'm like blocking out stuff. I'd rather weighted tangents. If you're not familiar, this is a tangent. So I can move this around this in the curve editor or graph editor. These are keys, that I can move around, and then these are the tangents that kind of affect the shape of the curve. So if I really flesh that out, right now I can drag here and it won't change that size of that tangent. But if I go here and default is weighted, this one, if I save it, I'll get rid of it. But if I change that and I save it, it'll change it to a weighted tangent and it'll shrink down a little bit. But the weighted, it means that value, there's here, actually they added this, the length of this will affect, kind of this like the overall shape of that curve. So if I go here and drag this one out, it'll start, influencing this value more into that curve. It can be really helpful and cartoony and holding animations, stuff like that. But when I'm blocking out stuff to start and kind of like on default, I only do it per curve. Excuse me. I only do it per curve. So usually I'll keep that off, but it is helpful if you do prefer weighted tangents. Auto is fine. You can change this to be, clamped, flat, spline. Auto span is usually okay. It's like the normal way. I think they have this new one, spline. I think it's just an updated version of the auto span. Nothing else. Let's see. Snap value to adjacent keys, big one. I love this feature. So when I'm dragging, like say I want this value to be the same as this one, right? And I'm like really trying to level that and zooming, and I'm trying, I can't. Let's see if I frame it. No, get out of here. If I press F, that didn't do anything. F, why isn't it doing anything? okay. And I'm really trying, you know, it's never gonna be perfect unless I go here and I copy this value and then I paste it into here. But this setting, where was it? Snap value to adjacent keys. It'll just kind of, you'll feel it. It's just a little, it's right there, perfect. And then I can press D. Why is this not doing what I think it should? Should it add auto? Perfect. And then see how like it'll just kind of snap, which is nice. Okay. Let's go back to the preferences. Okay, so left dragging move selected keys. If you have that checked on, you can kind of just click on a key and like start to move it around. Really a preference thing. You can turn that on or off, it doesn't really matter. But this kind of locks it, and then the only way you can move it is with middle mouse. And I kind of like this anyways. I don't ever really like grab keys with the left mouse, so I'll turn that off for myself. But if you hold down middle mouse and shift, it'll lock it in the direction that you start to move. So if you want to start pushing it down and only down, see how like I'm moving left and right, nothing's happening. It's only going down or up. It's really helpful. And then if you hold shift and start moving to the left or right, it'll start snapping to those frames, which is really nice. If you don't hold down anything and just middle mouse, you can freely move it around. I'm going to skip a couple things here, but key size is kind of nice. You can see that it's, you know, changing those keys insanely big. I think 1 is fine, 2 maybe, 1.5. I mean, it's preference thing, you know, whatever you want to change it to. Dope sheet. When you're using new rigs and stuff like that, there's a couple things that I'll go over in another video of like when I go into a new rig and I try and like figure out how to use it. And even when I start animating, there's a lot of times where I want to lock channels and you know, make sure that I'm not messing with certain things. So if you click these two, allow edits on reference animation curves and allow locking and unlocking edits on reference attributes. So yeah, if you want to be able to lock stuff and kind of hide things and maybe manipulate, add some stuff to the rig, I mean, I don't know how much you would actually be doing that, but if you want to, that's where this is. And then I think that's kind of like generally what I get into when I set up a Maya scene. Yeah, this is kind of like my preferred layout workspace. Some of the things that I look for in that Windows setting. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions or you wanted me to go over anything else. I will be making some more videos about Maya, especially in the future. Maybe some Blender videos, I don't know yet. But hope you liked. If you did, please subscribe, like the video, follow, you know, hit me up on Instagram if or anything. I'll have it all linked below. Thanks.